Welcome to Makeup Mondays. Thank you so much, Sarah, for this box. This is a series where I turn expired or unwanted donated makeup into watercolor paint, and this is a bunch of really cool pieces sent to me from Georgia. Those red 2016 Kiko compacts are kind of amazing. This one is so cute. It has heart-shaped pans inside. Like, oh my god, I love it. I love all of these tiny little containers. Every single one of them is going to get reused in some way, and like the Bare Minerals powders, those make the most amazing skin tone colored paints. I don't know anything about how light fast they are, but if you preserve your art by scanning it and working with a digital file, I guess it doesn't really matter how light fast anything is, and you can just work with the materials that give you the best colors and textures. I love and hate the velvet on the outside of the Anastasia palettes. Like, it gets so dirty, but it also feels so nice. That Naked palette is so pretty. I just am a little hesitant to turn it into watercolor paint because I listed one of them up on eBay recently and it got taken down by a copyright strike. And it's the piece that they hired me to make. So I'm just like, whatever. But I sold it privately, so no harm. But it's just a little weird to me. But you know what? It's a case of the head not knowing what the hand is doing. So whatever, Urban Decay, you're out there doing your very best. I love your stuff. I'm just not interested in spending 12 hours on a piece that I can't sell. So, you know, whatever, not a big deal. But look at this little guy. Oh my God, it's like a reindeer and it's puffy on top. So cute. I did not expect this color right here by Hikari to be gorgeous. It's called Latte. It's amazing. This compact that says Shayna on the outside doesn't have anything to do with that Love is Blind season 2 show, but every time I see the name Shayna, I think of her and her pouty little irritated face. If you're looking for a dramatic reality TV dating show, I cannot recommend Love is Blind more. All of the characters on it, I mean, they are all real people, but they are also interesting, and the show itself is it's ridiculous. Okay, this is the coolest thing in the whole box. I'm gonna turn it into a giant watercolor palette. It holds so many colors. I love it. Oh my god. Thank you, Sarah. Welcome to the complete and polar opposite of that makeup repair channel. I'm going to turn this beautiful Kiko highlighter and bronzer duo into watercolor paint today. This thing is really fancy, and hold on, I'm gonna go look it up. All right, so this one is from 2016 and not available anymore, and it is enormous. So a normal sized similar product is less than $30, but the reason why I think this thing is so fancy is it has this neat terracotta bake thing on the bottom of it. Like, they baked the product onto that, and I thought I could take it out, but I ended up just breaking it. And you know what I could do with it instead of taking it out? I could turn it into a watercolor palette, like put different colors on top of it. Clay will help absorb water and help things dry more quickly, so it's the perfect place to stick some watercolor paint. So I'm going to turn both of these colors into watercolor paint and then put different colors of different paint that I make all in it, so it's a travel watercolor kit. If you would like to turn your old makeup into watercolor paint, can't recommend it enough as a hobby. You first start by taking everything out of the compact and you break it up as finely as possible, chopping it up party style until you have a nice fine powder. Then you're going to add an equal part by volume of watercolor binder. Watercolor binder is what you mix into the pigment to turn it into watercolor paint, and you can either purchase it from my shop or you can go to my profile and see the recipe that I use, and you can make your very own. Then you use a palette knife to mix them up. The closer you can get to a finished paint using your palette knife, the better. Your next step is to use a paint muller. This one is optional. Any glass object with a perfectly flat bottom can be used as a paint muller. You can see some of my other videos where I use little glass figurines like an elephant and a bird to do this. This step just further incorporates those two materials and makes your finished paint a lot more smooth and texture free. The longer that you do it, the better. Side note, this is not true for shiny pigment. Sometimes they can break down and look less shiny. I recommend making swatches of your paints as you go, and as soon as you are happy with the quality of your paint, you're finished. Store it in anything that you want to. I'm putting a little bit back into the original compact and the rest of it into these two little plastic pieces that I've saved from a shelf that I put together. I use a lot of really weird containers when I do my paint making because I end up with so many small quantities of random paint. So anything Anything that looks like a watercolor paint pan can be a watercolor paint pan. Here's how it all turned out. I love the highlighter. It is really pretty. It's not super duper shiny, but it is definitely noticeable in person. The bronzer is matte, but does have the tiniest bit of shine to it, and I just love how smooth they are. 10 out of 10. Kiko makes great watercolor paint. Make up a murder watercolor paint and serial killer statistics. Let's do it. Did you know there's an infographic out there that tells you the percentage of serial killer victims in the population? Well, I found it, and leading the list at number 1 is Alaska, where they have 7 for every 100,000 people, followed very closely by Louisiana, which has 6.5. By the way, Hawaii is the best place to live according to that particular map. Serial killer murders make up less than 1% of all of the murders in the United States. The FBI says that there are between 25 and 50 serial killers operating at any one time, and I sure wish they'd tighten those numbers up because that's a big range. Of all of the serial killer murders in the United States, only 17% of them are committed by women. But if you look at all of the murders in the United States, women are only responsible for 10% of those, so maybe the men should calm down. No, that's not nice. You shouldn't say that. Maybe they're just better at getting caught. Welcome to Watercolors, a series where I make watercolor paint for you and talk about serial killers. Trigger warning, this is about murderers doing murderer things, and all of it is going to be disturbing. I'm over here on Wikipedia looking at a list of serial killers by number of victims, and here are the things that the top 5 spots have in common. All 5 of them were men. All 5 of them also essayed their victims. 4 out of 5 killed primarily children. Only 1 targeted primarily women. The other one that targeted women only did as a side to the children. One of them was released from prison in the 1990s. One of them was killed in prison. One of them is due for parole next year. One of them was killed before they even got to prison. And the last one is serving a life sentence in a Russian prison. Spots 1, 2, and 5 contain multiple countries in South America. Spot number 3 is Pakistan, and spot number 4 is Russia. Welcome to Watercolors, a series where I make watercolor paint while I talk about murderers. Trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about murderers doing murderer things, and it may be disturbing for some viewers. Let's talk about the longest prison sentences in the United States. In 1995, Terry Nichols, the Oklahoma City bomber, received 161 life sentences plus 9,300 years parole. In 2007, Michael J. Devlin, a person who deserves to rot underneath the jail, got 74 life sentences plus 2,020 years. He was convicted on multiple counts of kidnapping and essaying children. In 2003, Gary Ridgway, serial killer known as the Green River Killer, received 49 life sentences, 48 of them without parole, plus 480 years. I'm no lawyer, and this is just my best guess, but I think the reason they give out multiple life sentences is to make sure that they get stuck in prison even if they get one of those life sentences overturned. Shameless plug, I sell freeze-dried Skittles now and they're great.